evening, everybody, and welcome to Sharpening the Edge, Week 4, After Dark. Not really. We usually come a little bit earlier in the day, but a little bit later is not so bad, although it depends if you're picking a Friday night game or not. I'm Dennis Fithy, and I'm joined by Lucas Rymek, who you see on the screen and on your podcast, and we are ready to kick things off. Lucas, how are you?
Doing well. 3-3 again last week, so 8-9 on the season. Kind of just treading water, just waiting for that week where you really break through and you go 4-2 or 5-1 to flip this thing positive. But I've been close the last couple weeks. You got me last week on a couple of different ones we were picking against each other on. So I don't know what you did. I can keep track, but you at least had 2 wins over me directly. So.
Well, you got me with the Lions. I do know that. So I know the Boston College one I was keeping a close eye on for sure. If this is the first time you're listening or watching, we do make a half dozen picks each week. Michigan State, and the Lions. And then we have 3 locks. Yeah, too bad. I missed on Michigan and the Lions. I had Michigan State by a half point. And then I was 2-1, and I don't know. I think 8-14. That doesn't sound so good. Maybe I should go back and look at it and adjust that and see if it's I can make it any better. With that, we get right into U of M and USC, the Big Ten opener. USC coming on in, and this game before the season, Michigan was a huge favorite. It went up to 6.5. It is down to 4.5, or wherever you want to put it at, Lucas. And you have the honors as you step to the tee to pick Michigan and Southern California tomorrow at the Big House at 3:30.
Sure. So there's a lot of things you can talk about with this game, a lot of different aspects of it that I think are really interesting. I do believe in USC's defensive changes. To me, they look like a way better unit than they have had at least the last several years. I think it's roughly like a top 50-ish defense now, which is a big improvement for where it's at from where it was at before, believe it or not. Just the things like tackling and running to the football are just way better than what they have been in the years past. I still don't think it's like the most talented defense, particularly for USC. They do have some holes, mostly in the secondary. And then you go to the offense, Miller Moss. He is good. He has a lot of experience in the system. He's been around for quite a while there. They also have one of the best wide receiver cores in the country. And then you kind of see like Michigan's vulnerabilities on defense. Looks like it's kind of the secondary, mostly like the cornerback 2 spot opposite Will Johnson. And I also think just kind of how this matchup is going to go. I think USC is going to have a hard time running the football against this Michigan front 7. And I think with making the quarterback switch from Warren to Orji, I'm choosing to believe that it's going to inject some life into the offense. I don't think he needs to be a great passer for this offense to work. I think he really just needs to hit about 60% of his passes, take care of the football. I'll ride with the Wolverines here. I liked it more at 5.5 or 6.5, like it was early in the week, but I'll still take it here at 4.5. I have this projected 23-20 USC win, so tiny edge there for Michigan analytically, but I'll ride with them to cover that spread at home.
All right, you're taking Michigan and the points. For this one, having Michigan, can they run their way to victory? Lincoln Riley's team, even when he was back in Oklahoma, great offense. He can scheme anything up, great quarterback, and he's got one. And Moss, you already mentioned all those wide receivers. They're awesome. And, Michigan's defense had to carry the day for at least the first month, maybe 2, and that doesn't look like it's happening. And with the problems on an unsettled offensive line and a first-time quarterback, I just don't like the matchup for Michigan. I hope I'm wrong on this one, but I picked USC 27 and Michigan 17. So I'd have to lay 9.5 points if it came down to it, which, of course, is unfortunate because I'd like to see Michigan win the game. Now, Michigan State is in action. They're taking on that Boston College team that we both were interested in last week, their game at Missouri. And for that game, let's just see where I was at. I've got it written down for USC minus 4.5. I'll take the first crack at this one. BC is minus 6.5. It is a game that is going to be played at 8 o'clock. You have to have the ACC network if you want to watch that one on TV. But BC, they beat Florida State. They hung in there at Missouri. I think they should be able to handle Michigan State, so I'm going to lay the 6.5.
Got a couple fights already. I'm gonna take the Sparties here. I think Michigan State, just from what I've seen, I do believe they're getting better. I think they've been better coached like each consecutive week that I've watched them. They're making progress. Aiden Childs, to me, looks like he's turning a bit of a corner. Still very raw. Has a lot of throws during the game. You're kind of like scratching your head, like, what are you doing? But he's making more and more consistent throws as he's progressing. So I like to see that from a young quarterback. Still think there's a long way to go before he fully realizes potential, but I do think he's getting there. Boston College, obviously, you were right about them last week. They came off the tough road game against Missouri. They got a little bit beat up there. A couple linemen dinged up, might not play, just from what I've seen. And their quarterback Castellanos has he's a bit of a gunslinger. He kind of just chucks it around there. It's working out for him so far this year. He's got 9 touchdowns and 2 picks through these first 3 games. But last year he had turnover issues like crazy. I'm not fully convinced he solved those. I think he turns it over a time or two here against this Michigan State defense. Got the Eagles winning, but Sparty covering that 6.5.
All right, so we're at odds all over the place with the first 2 games. I'm just going to tell you that we're going to go right back to you with the Lions. They're out in Arizona, 4:25 kick on Fox. Lions are -3 against the Cardinals, who looked really good last week against the Rams. Lions not so much against the Bucs. How do you see this one?
Yeah, I'll take the Cardinals here, the +3. Just think they're a little bit too underrated. I've talked about it a little bit in previous shows, but I still think this Lions secondary is kind of the weakness of the team until I've seen otherwise. Like Arnold, he just keeps getting handsy. He's just a little bit too handsy. It's something I think he'll learn. He's in good position a lot, but he gets a little too physical to top of routes and also when the ball's in the air. And then Kyler Murray, he's got some good weapons to throw to. Maserati Marv, as people will know him, and Trey McBride, also one of the best tight ends in the league. I think the Lions win here close. Wouldn't be shocked if the Cardinals just won it outright. I have this projected 28-27 Lions.
Yeah, this was tough for me. I like Maserati Marv and the Cardinals too. Kyler Murray's back. James Conner looks like he's really running well. And you're right about the tight end McBride. He's pretty awesome. But I think the Lions go out there and they fix their red zone issues, and I think they run to victory, and I'm going to have them covering this 3 points, so we're on the opposite sides of all of these games for the first 3. That makes it exciting when it comes down to it, doesn't it? Now we'll go over to our locks of the week. We give you 3 locks, and I'm feeling pretty good after hitting 2 out of 3 last week, so I'll lead us off. I'm going to tonight's game, and Illinois is getting 8.5 points at Nebraska. Look, I like Nebraska. They got a good quarterback, but Illinois' quarterback is no slouch in Altmaier. And I was looking at Illinois. They've got 2 outstanding wide receivers. They got 10 pass plays over 20 yards this year already, and they've got a pretty formidable defense. I think Nebraska could win this game. The line actually moved up to 9.5. I think it's at 9 right now. If you want to jump right in, that game coming up in less than an hour in Lincoln. It's a tough place to play. Lincoln is, and I know Raiola has looked fabulous, and the Cornhuskers think they're back. But I think this is going to be a tight game. That's why I'm taking Illinois in best bet number 1.
For my first one, I'm going to go to the big noon kickoff, Ohio State and Marshall. Kind of a surprise, big noon kickoff pick, if you ask me. But that's what they picked. That's where they're at because it's such a big spread. I'm going to ride with the Buckeyes there. I think they're going to be up to the challenge to cover the 39.5 against Marshall. Kind of just buying into a bit of a narrative here. I think it's a nice primetime slot for Ryan Day to kind of reinsert Ohio State into the discussion of one of the best teams in the country. A lot of teams are watching Georgia and Texas and Alabama, and they're kind of forgetting about Ohio State. And a lot of that's just based on Ohio State's schedule thus far. They haven't played much of anybody, and they're still not going to play much of anybody here. So anyways, just kind of like the piggybacking off of that, the time slot thing, I think with a primetime game, big noon kickoff, more eyes than you might expect will be on this game. So I'm thinking Ohio State's going to try and run it up, and will make a statement in this game if they get the chance to. And Marshall's quarterbacks, they've had issues, just not very good overall. I don't think they'll be able to score much at all. I got Ohio State winning this something like 49-6. So I will take the Buckeyes there to cover that 39.5.
I could totally see that happening. I've got my best bet number 2 locked in, and I'm going up to Blacksburg. And I am taking Rutgers. I like them outright. I'll take the 3.5 points, but Kyle Monangi is the running back for the Scarlet Knights. He's really good. He was good last year. He's good this year. And if you look at the stats, the Hokies weren't very good with their rush defense last year, and they're giving up over 190 on the ground for the first 2 games. This one looks like it to me is all Scarlet Knights. And again, I would take them. Think about it on the money line. I haven't yet entered what's going to happen there, but I definitely like Rutgers for my lock number 2 plus 3.5 at Virginia Tech.
I'll stick with another Big Ten team here. I'm going to go Indiana minus 28.5 against Charlotte. The Hoosiers went on the road last week to UCLA, kind of blew the doors off of them there. No, I don't think UCLA, is any good, but I don't think Charlotte is either. Kirk Cignetti, from what I've seen, he's got like very little chill in him. He will continue to run it up on you if you let him. And I think this Indiana team is kind of progressing. They've already kind of exceeded some of the expectations from what I had preseason. So I think they're going to get to like 7 or 8 wins, 7-5, 8-4 type season there in his first season there. And Charlotte's one of the worst teams on their schedule. They don't really have a quarterback threat here. I got the Hoosiers continuing to roll through this part of their schedule and get a big win against Biff Poggi and the rest of this Charlotte team.
Go Biff Poggi, but I like your pick and everything you had to say about Indiana. That gets me to my 3rd pick. I have to say, it was not such a light slate, but it wasn't a really attractive slate as I looked through all the games. Nothing was really jumping out and grabbing me, so I had to really dive into these picks. But this last one, I like watching games that are going to be on TV, and then I like, betting those teams from what I see as the year goes on. I say all that because tomorrow night it's Tennessee at Oklahoma, and that's my 3rd pick. It's a big number, but I love Tennessee. The one thing I saw about the Vols and the game that I watched them play against NC State, we all love Nico Iamaleava. Iamaleava can throw the ball as well as anybody that I've ever seen, but it's actually their defense that looks really good, and they blanked their 2 opponents since then, and they looked really good against, like I said, the Wolfpack. Oklahoma, yeah, that's a ranked team and everything else, but if I'm going to go with one team, I'm going to go with Tennessee, and I'm going to lay the points. It's a big number on the road, but I'm going to take Tennessee minus 7.5 at Oklahoma to win this game.
I'm with you in spirit. I just couldn't, didn't make the cut.
Get there.
I'm with you on spirit, though. That's the way I was going to lean on that one, too. For my last one here, I'm going to go to Miami playing USF. It's actually a road game at USF, which is kind of interesting. But I'm going to ride with the Hurricanes. I think Miami is a really good team. It's kind of going to be like a neutral field type crowd is kind of what I'm expecting with Miami, just going up the road a little bit to Tampa, playing in South Florida. USF, they played Bama tough through 3 quarters a couple weeks ago. But from what I saw, I thought it had more to do with Bama kind of struggling than it did USF like playing out of their minds or playing particularly well. So I like the Canes here to continue to roll. I got them cruising to a nice, easy 42-20 win here. So I like the Hurricanes as my last best bet there.
There it is. Laying those big numbers. The Canes minus 16.5, the Hoosiers minus 28.5, and the Buckeyes minus 39.5. And if you're looking for my locks, I like Illinois tonight. 9.5, whatever, 8.5. It depends on when you got it. I did get 9.5. Rutgers plus 3.5. I like that one the most out of my 3 picks. And then Tennessee, I'm rolling with the Vols. Iamaleava, I'll be able to say that name by week 6. That just roll off your tongue. Everybody's going to know how to say his name as we watch him and Tennessee continues to win. That's it. Lucas, great job. Good luck, except in those first 3. I don't know what to say about you. I need the wins more than you.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting week. I'll be even more tuned into those games just to see who's right.
Good luck to everyone. Good luck to you. And we'll talk with you next week on Sharpening the Edge. There it is. Smash that like button while you're